So I just want to say hello to everyone who is on, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I wish we could all be together at King Elementary School, but given the circumstances, we are still very happy to be hosting this event virtually. Nothing can take the place of the personal interactions and the feeling of being in the school, but we do hope that this time is helpful to you. I'm Allison Ben Abdallah, the principal of King. Also today, I've invited a few members of our community to help provide a different perspective and answer questions at the end. I've been doing school tours for a number of years now, but these virtual meetings are new, so please bear with me today, as this is a learning curve for me as well. If I can't get to your questions at the end, no worries. We will be collecting all questions that we didn't get to and providing answers that will be posted on the FPS website. And we'll also be recording this virtual meeting to make it available for others who couldn't attend. So I'm going to introduce my invited panelists today. They may jump in to assist during the presentation and at the end to help in answering any questions. So panelists, if you could please unmute, and then when I say your names, if you could introduce yourselves and share your role here at King. So first, I think I'd like to call on Matt. Matt Hanlon, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Hanlon. Currently, I'm the interim assistant principal at King. I've been in Framingham for 17 years, so I've been through a few of these. Just hoping to help out Ms. Ben Abdallah as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Adelman.
Hi, my name is Stacy Adelman. I have been a kindergarten classroom teacher at King for 6 years.
And Ms. Levitan.
Hi, my name is Jen Levitan. I've also been a kindergarten classroom teacher at King for the last 6 years and have also taught in a few other schools here in Framingham.
Thank you. And Ms. Glover.
Hello, my name is Corinne Glover. I'm the office manager at King. I've been at King, this is my 3rd year. It's a wonderful community. I'm a lifelong resident of Framingham, so I'm very well vested.
And finally, Ms. Tresello.
Hi, I'm Annette Tresello. I'm one of the co-presidents of the PTO. My son Gabriel is in 3rd grade and my daughter Amara is in kindergarten with Miss Levitan.
Terrific. Thank you so much. So I will be sharing a presentation and showing you some photos of King, a video or two, and highlight some of the things that we are most proud of here at King. Then we will open up the event for questions and answers at the end. So what you can do now is you can submit questions throughout the event in the chat window, which will come to me and the panelists. Mr. Hannon will keep track of the questions, and as I mentioned earlier, we will do our best to read them aloud and answer as many of them as possible at the end of the presentation. If for any reason you need to leave this presentation early, you will be able to access the recording on the FPS website. And of course, once again, we will make sure that we collect those questions, and we'll make sure that we provide answers for you moving forward. So at this time, I am going to, you'll have to give me a moment, please. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. I think you'll still be able to maybe see me in the upper corner, but you will be seeing the slideshow presentation. It takes me just a moment to share my screen. And here we go. And I will go into present. And hopefully, I need to go back several slides, sorry. Knew there'd be a glitch or two. Thank you. Okay, there we go. So welcome to King, the home of Rory. So we are so happy to have you here with us today. I will be, let's see, going to the next slide. I would like to make some just sort of name introductions, if you will, just so that you can see the staff members and some of the titles that we have in our school building. Obviously, you see my name, Matt Hanlon. Our Krista Brother is our team evaluation coordinator. Oops, sorry, I'm just moving something over a little bit. We have a school counselor, Lydia Jones, a social worker, Melanie Colora, a school psychologist, Anna Pena, and our school nurses, Linda Renault. And moving on, we are also very fortunate to have two full-time coaches, and Christine Taché is our literacy coach, and Erin Stillman is our math coach. We also have a part-time ELD coach, Molly Shveda, and PJ Feynman, our STEAM coach. For support, we have an occupational therapist, Gina Esposito, a speech and language pathologist, Shannon Call, a SAGE teacher, Denise Weeks, and an interventionist, Jill Stubbs. And of course, we have our highly qualified kindergarten teachers. So you have met Stacy Adelman and you have met Jen Levitan, and our other kindergarten teacher this year is Sabrina Gravanti. We also have a separate classroom, an ASD classroom, Colleen Delaney. And our K-2 special educator is Catherine Thomas, and our K-2 ESL teacher is Tracy Colby. Moving on, each kindergarten classroom, we're very fortunate. Each kindergarten classroom does have a kindergarten aide. They are there for most of the day, and they play a vital role in what happens in your child's day. And so these are the names of the different support staff who not only support the 3 kindergarten classrooms, but also our ASD classroom. So moving on to this, the main office, we have our office manager who you met, and she's going to, if she can unmute now, I'll let her speak in a moment, Corinne Glover. And also we have an assistant office manager, Eliza Di Carvalho. Corinne Glover happens to speak Spanish, which is amazing to have, and Eliza speaks Portuguese, which is usually helpful when our families who speaks a different language at home are able to communicate with the office. So Corinne, if you're on, would you like to talk a little bit about the important work that you all do?
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Corinne Glover, the office manager here at King, and we would love to have your students come join us in our King family, which is what we consider ourselves. I really try to ensure that the office staff is a bridge between the families and the school. I try to get to know all of your students. They're welcome to come to the office. Of course, anytime there's any need to communicate with the school, we're the first face or the first voice that you will hear. And we're always willing and able to do what we can to assist you in your needs, whether that be just an attendance concern, anything going on at home that you want to communicate with us, if you need to have any communication with Allison or Matt, or the teachers, just how we are here to help you in any way that we can, just so that you always know there's a connection between home and school. And we work the office hours. We're usually in the office at 8:30. We're there till about 4 p.m. With any concerns you may have. And so that we're here to help. And again, I speak Spanish and Eliza speaks Portuguese, so there should not be a language barrier. If you need any help, we're always there to try to communicate whatever needs you may have with the school staff.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Corinne. Obviously, if you have any questions so far, any question for Corinne in how the office runs, feel free to type that into the chat and we will do our best to answer that. If not today, we will make sure that we post answers to your questions. So moving on to the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit about arrivals. We have buses, parent drop-off, and breakfast. So we do have systems in place to provide the safest and most efficient means of getting our kids to school. So we have a bus circle and we have parent drop-off. With parent drop-off, we have a number of families who do drop off their children in the morning, and the cars circle around the building, and there is they come around to the side, and there are staff members to greet them. Many students go directly to the cafeteria when they arrive for breakfast before going to class. And I would have to say that following the parent drop-off and the parent pickup procedures are essential to ensuring safety and efficiency. So the process that we have in the morning is very similar in the afternoon. We have staff who greet the buses in the bus circle, the students walk. I'm usually the one, or there might be another staff member working as a crossing guard, if you will, to make sure that students are crossing the driveway, if you will, to get into the building. And we have staff also greeting the parents at parent drop-off. Moving on. So King at a glance. So we currently have enrolled 420 students in grades K to 5. That's our 2019-2020 year. Our school hours are 9:05 to 3:20, but students may enter the building at 8:50 a.m. So the bell does ring at 8:50. Breakfast begins at 8:50 and classes begin at 9:05. So if students are arriving on time, they go straight to breakfast. They usually have enough time to have their breakfast. They have it in the cafeteria, then they go to class. If a student is for some reason is late and still needs breakfast, that's not an issue at all. If the cafeteria is still open, they can eat it in the cafeteria, but typically there's like a grab and go breakfast that they have, but kids can have breakfast if they need to. Early release days, our day ends at 12:55. Lunch is served, so that's important to remember. We have our morning and after school programs, and the morning program Explorers, which we'll talk a little bit more at the end, starts at 7 a.m. and ends at 6 p.m. And our Explorers coordinator at King is Amanda Lloyd. If you're wondering about what these typical sizes of kindergarten this year, our numbers were 20, 20, and 22. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. That might have changed at the very end, but that is a typical class size in kindergartens really, throughout the district. So I'm moving on. So I do have a video that I would like to share with you right now. So this video will kind of give you a feel for what our building looks like and what our classrooms look like. So please enjoy. It's just a little over a minute. Great. I hope you enjoyed that. I think, obviously we would rather have been able to bring you through our classrooms and through our building when school is in session, but we hope this at least gave you a little bit of a feel as to what the building is like. So moving on to our next slide. So this slide is really a typical day at kindergarten, and I'm going to actually, I think it's going to be Jen Levitan, one of our kindergarten teachers, is going to kind of walk you through what a typical day might look like. Jen?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So this is sort of a typical day. The three of us have very similar schedules. We teach the same subject at the same time each day. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about my classroom, but it covers all three kindergarten classrooms exactly the same. So like Mrs. Ben-Abdallah was saying, when children come into school in the morning, they'll have breakfast if they need it. They come up to the classroom. And then we have sort of arrival time where children can greet one another, greet us, get settled in. We have them working on the district program called iReady in the morning. They might be reading books. It's just a time for them to get settled, connect with teachers, connect with their friends, and sort of get ready for their learning for the day. And then we have our large group morning meeting time. And Mrs. Adelman's actually going to talk a bit more about what happens during morning meeting later on in the presentation, but it's a time for calendar and weather. We go over our day, we talk about important things that are happening, and then there's some curriculum that happens during that time as well. Then we move into our math workshop time, and we have guided math is what we call it, math workshop. So the children will get a small lesson with the whole group to start math time. We often are singing or dancing or counting to get ourselves ready. We might do a talk about numbers, and then we break off into small groups and we work at tables and centers with the teaching assistant and the classroom teacher. Typically they're working on whatever math curriculum focus we have for that particular day or that week or month. And when they come to the teacher table, they're getting direct instruction sort of at their math level and being sort of scaffolded to the next skills that they need to learn. So we, as much as we can at King, we're working with children in small groups so that we can work directly with each child in their own individual learning needs. After they work in their small group centers and they visit with the teachers, we will take a break. We go for a whole class bathroom break, clean our hands, have a snack, a quick 10-minute snack, and then we'll work on Foundations, which is the district's phonics program, letters and sounds and building words. And the whole district, we follow the same program. And then we'll move into our readers workshop, which runs similar to math workshop, where there's a small mini lesson at the beginning where the teacher gives a focus, and then the children will either be reading by themselves with their book box and we're conferencing with them, or they're reading with a reading partner and we'll conference with them. And then we're also pulling small reading groups to work with children at their own individual levels on the skills that they need to be ready for first grade and be a first grade reader. Then it's lunch and recess time. And oh, and I'm sorry, at the end of math and reading, we always have a share. I did forget that, sorry. Where we just sort of wrap up what we've been focusing on for that day's lessons. Lunch and recess. The children go down to lunch with our teaching assistants and then come out to recess. And then when we come in from recess, and we try to go out as much as possible every day, weather permitting. We think it's very important for everyone to get outside, run around, get fresh air. Even if we can't go on the playground, we'll take a walk around the building just so that we can get outside for a little bit. We have a quick quiet time. We have story where everyone can get settled back in. And then we have writers workshop, which is again similar to math and reading, with a small lesson at the beginning, and then children working independently with a partner, with teachers, conferencing. Our teaching assistants this year are with us until recess time. So for the majority of our instructional time, we have our teaching assistants with us. And then we often will be working on district social studies and science curriculum, and we also have some integration with STEAM during that time. Sometimes we'll move STEAM into the morning, but we try to teach as thematically as possible, meaning whatever we're sort of studying in social studies and science, we try to bring into math and writing and reading so it's meaningful and has connections for children. We'll read a story aloud. We'll have free play time, choice time, where the children can work on their social, emotional, interactive skills and play and build and have developmentally appropriate activities where they can be with peers and be creative. And then this year, kindergarten has specials at the very end of the day. So we'll pack up and they'll go to specials, art, gym, music, or library, and then they come back to us and it's time for dismissal. So a lot of information, but
a lot of
that's
information.
a snapshot of what it's like to be a kindergartner at King.
Jen or Stacy, could either of you maybe talk a little bit about what technology might look like in a kindergarten classroom?
Mm-hmm. So we are using the district issued Chromebooks for iReady, and we also we have some students who might speak another language who work on a program called Imagine Learning. We also have iPads that we have in the kindergarten classrooms that the children are using, and during small group center time, there's often activities or apps or things that we're asking them to do, so they might be scanning a code to look at letters or match beginning sounds to pictures. So we try to integrate technology as much as we can when it makes sense for the activities that we're working on. We also have Mimeo boards in our kindergarten classrooms that are interactive. There's like a little, sort of like a smart board. So we use that often, and we have projectors so that everyone can have a shared reading experience or science or social studies experience up on the whiteboard. And the children get really great at logging themselves into and out of iReady, logging themselves into and out of reading programs we might use, and using that little Mimeo pen. We have little steps so they can reach the board. For me too sometimes. I'm short too. So I'm not sure if I got everything, Mrs. Adelman, or if there was anything to add.
No, you did. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's about right. Nice. Thank you so much. The next slide talks a little bit about our specials. We do have 4 specials. Maybe Mr. Hanlon, could you talk about specials a little bit?
Sure. Well, our kindergarten students and then all throughout the grades, they're going to go to 1 special per day. You know, you'll see that we have 4 different specials. What happens is that on the 5th day of the week, throughout the year, there will be 1 special that the students will go to twice a week instead of once a week. And it's you know, it's set up in a schedule. So maybe the first quarter of the year they'll have 2 arts, and then the second quarter they'll have 2 musics, and then the third quarter they'll have 2 libraries, and the fourth quarter have 2 physical educations. But every day they'll have a special, and our current schedule, it's 55 minutes of the day they'll be in that special.
Right, and you can see what we've got. And we are fortunate, we do have a library and media specialist. So in addition to students checking out books and taking out books, because we have the library and media specialist, she is also able to provide sort of some online learning for students. And in some grades they do coding. I don't know if there's any coding that's been happening in the kindergarten. Stacy or Jen, is there coding that happens in kindergarten?
In my classroom, and I think in the other kindergarten classrooms as well, we have something called Osmo,
Right.
where we use an iPad, and there's an Osmo app and materials that kids can use to utilize the program. And there is a coding one, and there's a little robot on the screen, and they can make the robot move any way they want using the coding program.
Thank you.
And B-bots, we do B-bots.
And B-bots, let's not forget of B-bots, yes. Thank you. All right, moving forward. So English as a second language, often you'll just hear ESL. So ESL instruction is for students who have a first language other than English. And like all of our elementary schools, we are excited to have a growing ELL student population. We are seeing that in all the schools throughout the district, and we're very excited about that. We do have dedicated ESL, English second language teachers, and an ESL coach as well. The purpose of ESL instruction is to increase English language proficiency. Instruction for those students in kindergarten is 45 minutes a day, mostly in an ESL classroom in small groups of 2 to 7 students, but sometimes there is some push-in with the ESL teacher to support those students in their classrooms. Instruction focuses on activities in the areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. King K-5 currently has 89 ESL students coming from 7 different countries and speaking 15 different languages. And we think that's pretty amazing. So lunch and recess, this is an example of a menu. So kindergartners do eat lunch in the cafeteria. Their kindergarten aides do accompany them. So, and we also obviously have staff that's in the cafeteria as well. And it might be helping them to, initially they require a little bit more assistance, a little bit more help, but it doesn't take them long to feel more comfortable and able to sort of do things more independently. But it might be opening a milk carton, opening a thermos, whatever the need is, there are adults to help your children in the cafeteria. So lunch may be purchased from the cafeteria or it can be brought from home. And there are daily choices, which include milk, fruit, a protein, and a vegetable. Families will have access to a monthly menu. And there is so that you know, there is a nut-free table, absolutely no nuts, no peanuts, no tree nuts, nut-free table. And the school nurse, so that you know, works very closely with us and the kitchen staff to ensure that students, especially the younger students, and of course your child's teachers, are very much aware and very cognizant about where your child is sitting for lunch, should they have allergies. Unless it is raining, so that you know, we do go outside. We even go outside in the snow. So it's really important for your children to always have appropriate outdoor clothing, snow pants, hats, gloves, boots. And, you know, if we have some soft snow and nice clean snow, we're to play in, and we're very fortunate. We have quite a bit of like field area in addition to the playground and the playground structures for children to play in the snow, but they would have to have the appropriate clothing. If they don't, they can play on the hardtop that's of course been plowed and is cleaned, and they will, you know, certainly have a place to be outside. But we do go outside, and I think that Ms. Levitan had spoken about that. Moving on. So what can you expect from King? Well, I can guarantee that you can expect a dedicated staff of caring teachers who collaborate to create a positive and safe learning environment for all students. You can expect timely two-way communication with families. You can expect an administrative team who are accessible, and you can expect strong family-school connections. At the very least, you can expect those things from King. And taking a look at the next part, King Core Values and SEL. Just so that you know, SEL stands for Social Emotional Learning. And our King Core Values are be caring, be cooperative, be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. We do have something called PBIS. Actually, this is district-wide, so all schools would have this in place. It stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. And it includes developing and explicitly teaching behavioral expectations to all students in all locations, whether it's in the hallway, the cafeteria, in the classroom, on the playground, at community meetings. Creating a productive and safe learning environment in which all community members have clear expectations. We also have morning meeting, which Ms. Adelman will be talking about in a little bit, the zones of regulation, and second step. Second step is a district-wide curriculum, a social emotional curriculum that all schools are using. All schools have also adopted the zones of regulation. King this year, however, King has had this in place now for a few years. So morning meeting. So morning meeting is, it's an engaging way to start each day, build a strong sense of community, and set children up for success socially and academically. Each morning, students and teachers gather together in a circle for 20 to 30 minutes, as much as it might be a little bit less. It could be 10 minutes. It depends upon the day. And they interact with another during the 4 purposeful components, which you can see in front of you on the screen. And this is a part of, falls under the umbrella of responsive classroom. So Ms. Adelman now is going to speak to you a little bit about what that morning meeting format looks like in a kindergarten classroom.
Hi, everyone. So morning meeting is a part of the responsive classroom program, which most of us are trained in, and it's part of our SEL curriculum at King. And so it's in 4 parts, as Ms. Ben Abdallah said. We first start with a greeting. We all come into the circle on a rug and we greet each other. And that may look a little different in different classrooms. Each day might look different for the greeting. In my classroom, we say good morning to each other and we learn how to say good morning in different languages. And the child can choose to say good morning as we go around the circle. So we do many different kinds of greetings. Sometimes we'll sing a song for a greeting and have the child's name in for the greeting. And then we go to the share. The share is very different each day. Each child gets an opportunity to share something about what the focus is. For example, Ms. Ben Abdallah mentioned the zones of regulation. That gives the opportunity for a child to tell what color they feel their feelings are in. So a simple share might be, what zone are you in and why? And each child will get an opportunity to tell us how they're feeling that morning. Another question could be, what is your favorite place in your house? So each child can go around the circle and tell a favorite place that they like to play in their house. It gives us an opportunity, morning meeting gives us an opportunity to come together as a classroom community and to bond with each other and to really learn about each other. The next part of our morning meeting is the activity. This is a really fun time where we can play games. Sometimes we'll play the hot and cold game where I hide an object and we pick the helper of the day. Might be able to go around looking for the object, listening to directions from the children. Hot means you're close to the object, cold means you're far away. Some of my favorite activity I do with the kids is freeze dance, where I play music and they have to freeze when the music stops. And that's a lot of fun, they love that. And sometimes we do a movement break where we do dances from a program called Go Noodle, which is a lot of fun. It gives the children a lot of opportunity to move their bodies, to sing and dance and to have fun together. And then the last part of morning meeting is the message part, where I project a message on the board, or sometimes I'll write a message on a piece of chart paper with, and this is a good time for kids to read, to learn their sight words. So a simple message might be, today is Monday. We will have music today. It will be a great day. Or I might put something in the message about our weather. It is snowing today. Do you think we'll go outside? So the message is a good, sometimes you can even add a curriculum piece into the message. So for example, if we were learning digraph parts of words, I can put in a digraph word and I can have the kids search for the word that has the digraph in it. So there really are integrated ways through morning meeting to bring in our SEL curriculum and other parts of learning.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Sorry about my voice, the allergies.
Well, now you have to catch your breath because we are moving on to the next slide is just the STEAM focus for K-5. Yeah. So STEAM is like integrated interdisciplinary instruction, community-based investigations, collaborative instruction, student-centered approach, emphasizing engineering and design process, asking questions, making a plan, and creating a product. We have a partnership with the Museum of Science, and we have focused teacher sabbaticals, PD, professional development, and traveling programs that come to us. And we have a wealth of STEAM resources and equipment to support integrated instruction. In a moment, in the next slide, we're going to be showing you a brief video. But if Ms. Adelman could just take a moment to just talk about what STEAM might look like in a kindergarten classroom.
So the kindergarten team at King, we have been together for 6 years, and we've actually been together for longer than that, working on writing units together with the Museum of Science. So within our units, I'll just give you an example of the unit that we last did, which was our community helpers unit. And what we did was we took the standards, the Mass State standards, and we used them in creating a unit, a project-based unit. So in our community helpers unit, very simply, we took that social studies unit of community helpers, and we asked the children, do they think they can create the city of Framingham on a map using certain materials that were available to them. And so we go through the whole engineering design process with the kids. They have to imagine what their final product would look like. They plan it, they design it. And at this point in the year, the children have already been through each part of the engineering design process. We also come up with a writing project within this unit. This coincides with our writing unit of nonfiction writing. So each student chooses a community helper to write about. And they do that through research, looking through nonfiction books that we provide them. And they can just look at the pictures to do their writing, which is wonderful. They don't have to really need to read those heavy-based nonfiction books for that. And we bring in a community engagement piece where we have the Framingham firefighters. We give them a call, they come on over to King, they bring the fire truck, and they will sit with the children and they'll talk about what's important about their job. And the children get to go and tour the fire truck, which is really a fun part. And the children really enjoy that. So that's just a simple example of one of our STEAM units. We have many STEAM units that follow the new generation of science standards. We have been engaged in those science standards for 7 years now, and we have been using those standards before other districts. So
terrific, thank you. So this brings us to the next. So you'll see STEAM in action. So we have 2 videos here that were made last spring, I think. One of them is longer than the other. Today, just because of time, I'm keeping an eye on time. I'm just going to be showing the shorter one, the 3 Little Pigs. But I just want to remind you that this entire presentation is being recorded and will be available on the FPS website probably very, very soon. The turnaround, I think, has been fairly quick. And I would encourage you to watch the other video when you can. It's terrific. So we're going to take a few minutes to watch the 3 Little Pigs.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf. The big bad wolf.
Oh, what a feeling. Look what we've overcome. Oh, I'm gonna wave my flag and count all the reasons we are
I'm not sure why I'm buffering.
the champions. Ain't no turning back. Saying, oh, can't you taste the feeling? Saying, oh, we all together singing. Look how far we come now. There's beauty in the unity we found. I'm ready. We still got a long way, but look how far we come now. Hands up for your colors. Ready the people, a new day has just begun, and I wear my colors on my back. Yeah, we created equal, one race and that's human. Can't wait till they all see that. Feel it, saying, oh, we all together singing. Look how far we come now. There's beauty in the unity we found. I'm ready. We still
The door and this for the wheel. I think we should do a tissue box, but I don't do it because I get the holes. And then this on the house. And then I did like a cup. Means work together and build something all together.
Anna, what does teamwork mean?
Teamwork means helping each other do things or build things and listening.
look how far we come now. There's beauty in the unity we found. I'm ready. We still got a long way, but look how far we come now. Hands up for your colors. There's beauty in the unity. One hand, 2 hands for your colors, yeah. There's beauty in the unity. Show your true colors. Here we go. Hands up for your colors. Represent your country. Raise your flag. Show your true colors.
I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm having a little trouble getting out of it. Didn't mean for that to happen. Hang on just a second. All right. Sorry about this. For whatever reason, I am not able to.
Everything escaped Mrs. Ben Abdallah.
Yep. There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Please, 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 when this goes online, please watch the Force in Motion one. It's very different and gives you another perspective of what STEAM might look like in classroom. So moving on. So now I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about some of the wonderful things that we do that are student and family focused. So here's just a list of some of the many activities that are that occur every year at school. Of course, we have our kindergarten orientation and our meet and greet. We have lots of school spirit days. Typically, the kids use their King crowns that they earn through our PBIS program to vote for their favorite spirit day. We have field day. We have the King 5K jungle run and fun day. 100th day pancake breakfast, one of my favorites. I love making pancakes for families. The King of Hearts dance, multicultural fair. We have Box, which stands for Build Our Kids Success PE program. Sweet Pea yoga, which occurs in the morning before school even starts. We have book fair, school clubs, Girl Scouts, STEAM night, math night, trunk or treat, K-1 pajama story time, chili cook-off. So I'm going to go right now to the next slide and introduce one of our PTO co-presidents and parent, Annette Trasello. Annette.
Thank you. So we're really lucky that King Elementary has a very active PTO. Our meetings always get a lot of people. Everyone's very collaborative. We're dedicated to supporting the educational experience for King students, and we do this in a couple of different ways through fundraising events and community events. So on the slide shown before, some of those events are fundraisers. So for the King of Hearts Family Dance, we charge admission, and we also just last year started doing a really amazing online auction where people were able to bid on different things that we had donated through the various businesses in the community. And because of those fundraisers, we're able to do great things for the school. We give each grade a budget of $1,000 for field trips. We get supplies for the classroom. Our book fair this year just raised over $3,000 for new books for the library. And we're able to support the school through those fundraisers. But it's also, about more than just raising money. It's also about building a community. So we're very fortunate to also have a lot of community events, which are open to the whole family, parents and kids, younger siblings who aren't in school yet. And some of those examples are our pancake breakfast. We have an ice cream social at the beginning of the year to kind of welcome everyone back. The teachers are wonderful taking time out of their Friday nights to come eat ice cream with the kids. And trunk or treat is another community event, which I had never heard of before, but the kids basically trick or treat from parent volunteers who have decorated their car. And then our 5K and Fun Day is another great event that we offer. And one of the things I like best about King is that not only have my children made friends there, but I've made friends. People talk about it takes a village, and I really have found my village at King. And I think a lot of other families would say that as well. I mean, it's to the point where if I get a flat tire on the way to school, I can call up one of the other moms and they come and take my kids to school. And I've really had that village, and it's just been a wonderful experience. And I remember being in your position and going on these tours and trying to pick the schools, and it seems so overwhelming. But honestly, every school is a good choice, and you'll be happy wherever you go. But I know that we've been really happy at King Elementary. And thank you, Allison, for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you. Annette does a huge amount for the King community. So I was very grateful that she was willing to come today. So we're wrapping up. I'm not going to be able to show this video to you. It's a very brief video, but if you think that you are interested in our before or after school program, Explorers, this little video is a nice little snippet. Just to sort of give you, it's the out of school time program. So sometimes we say it's like the OST program for Framingham Public Schools. It was launched in 2014 in Woodrow Wilson and has grown to over 7 locations, soon to be 9 in the fall. So it is focused on project-based learning, integrating STEAM and social emotional learning. And the overall model is designed through a variety of clubs. Shows you some of the benefits are huge. Again, it runs to 7 a.m. until, and then from dismissal until 6 p.m. And if you have any questions regarding that, I think that the slide has some information about who to contact, and again, the Explorers Club. So I think at this point now, I'm going to leave this. I know we're not going to have time for all of your questions. We do have another presentation, a translated presentation at 4 o'clock. But as I said, we will make sure that we copy all of these questions, and the panelists will work together to get those answered and to get those posted. But if, Mr. Hanlon, if you would like to start with questions, I'm going to stop sharing, and we can get started on that part. Are you able?
Sorry, my mic was not turned on. So I'll start with the questions. As Allison said, if we don't get to any or all the questions, these will be posted on the district website along with the presentation. So the first question that we have today, and I may direct one of the other panelists to answer the question, but it is, when during the school day are the teachers' aides in the classroom? So
go ahead, Jen.
So, yep, they're there starting at arrival time until recess time. So for the like 8:50 to
1 o'clock.
12:45. Pardon?
Is it 1 o'clock?
12:45. Yeah. They're with us for 4 hours every morning, which is the majority of our instructional time, and always for lunch.
And that is true for all schools. Next question.
okay, so the next question is, what kind of consequences do you use to address behaviors across the grades, not just in kindergarten?
Is that a question for me?
Sure.
So I think, you know, obviously our teachers really do a wonderful job of developing their expectations, their classroom expectations, and accountability. And that's a huge part of what PBIS is. And our teachers do a wonderful job of managing, managing behaviors in the early stages, especially. And the first point of contact is when there are, issues and concerns about behaviors, is that our staff, they do a fabulous job of communicating with parents and guardians. So they would be reaching out to parents and guardians. If something becomes more problematic, that's when they usually involve an administrator. Then an administrator might have to have a serious conversation with the student, and the administrator might, reach out to the family. But we really use, as often as possible, our approach is to positively teach expected behaviors and appropriate behaviors and expectations in all settings. And the teachers do a really wonderful job of managing that. And if they need assistance and help, they do reach out to administrators. But they partner with one another. They partner with the student, but they partner with the parent guardians.
Okay, so the next question, and I think I will take this one, is the King building similar to any of the other schools in the district? Okay, so, and whoever asked this question had referred to some other schools that are very similar in their layout. Correct me if I'm wrong, any of the other panelists, but King is pretty unique in that regard. I don't think that there's any other school, some of the schools were built around the same time, so they have a very similar layout, but King has actually had quite a few little renovations over the past few years that it is kind of a very unique layout to some of the rest of the schools, but you're going to find the same amenities at all the buildings and things like that.
Well, we do have, I'll add to that, we have, if you will, like a K-2 wing, if you will, and a 3-5 wing. It's like a horseshoe. And the specialists are sort of this, like art room, music room, the gym, et cetera, are dispersed throughout. And the K1 and like, for example, the K1-2 hall, they have their own like restrooms. They have their own bathrooms for students. And they are also located in close proximity to the nurse. In fact, like the kindergarten classrooms are right next to the restrooms and the nurse and the playground, in fact.
Okay, next.
We have time for maybe like 3 more questions.
Okay, so this question is, what is the likelihood of getting a spot if this is the first choice but not our home school?
Honestly, that is a question for pick. I don't really have the answer to that. I know that they have a formula. There is a way that it happens. So you know, I think typically my understanding is that most families get, you know, their you know, certainly within their top 3, if not top 2. But that would be a question that you might want to direct to pick the Parent Information Center.
All right, so we talked a little bit about our STEAM program, but if you, since you are a STEAM school, what do you do differently than other elementary schools?
What do we do differently? Well, I think that you know, when I think about one of the differences that we have is that you know, I think that we have been sort of doing this work a little bit longer. I think that you know, I think that Stacy, you had spoken to this a little bit about the number of years that you as a staff have put into integrating STEAM, and with maybe more of an emphasis on engineering, perhaps. The amount of time that we have been integrating that within our curriculum. I don't know if you want to add a little bit to that, Jen or Stacy, but I think that it has a lot to do with, you know, I think the amount of time that we have had. I mean, the entire district is certainly, you know, all schools have STEAM in them. You know, I think you'll
Allison, I can add to that. I think something that King we have been working together for a long time with the STEAM focus, but one of the things I know, especially in K-2, and Mr. Hanlon might be able to speak a little bit about 3 to 5, is that we really focus on trying to integrate the concept of science and social studies into other curriculum areas. So it's not necessarily a science time or an engineering time or a social studies time. We try to thoughtfully place those curriculum pieces so that they align with other curriculum pieces that would make sense. So like Mrs. Adelman was talking about with the community helpers unit, we do nonfiction reading and writing at that time. So the children, one component of learning about the important people in our city is doing a little bit of kindergarten appropriate research and kindergarten appropriate writing about something that's true and real. So we try, I think what that focus of STEAM is that integration across the curriculum areas to make it a more meaningful experience for students versus just engineering or just math.
And we are fortunate in that the STEAM coach, PJ Feynman, has been working with us for a couple of years now, closely with, she's a STEAM coach in the district, and she works very closely with King in particular, as well as Fuller. And you know that we do feed into Fuller Middle School, and so that alignment works really very well. I'm just looking at the time. We have probably maybe something, I can't see all the questions, but I think we have time for another question. I want to make sure that we take the time to answer all of your questions. So please, once again, please don't worry about, you know, please don't worry if we were not able to get to your questions. We will go through all of them and answer them together as a panel. Is there any other questions while we have our kindergarten friends, or any King specific?
Well, I'm just continuing to go in order, but what is the testing culture like, and how do you communicate information about MCAS testing?
Oh, well, the MCAS testing, MCAS testing, students are tested in grades 3 to 5. All 3 grades have MCAS testing in literacy and math. And 5th grade throughout the district has it in science and technology and engineering as well. But, you know, we think of it really as a whole school. It's a whole school responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers, because obviously, you know, we have to have vertical dialogue, vertical conversations about what's being taught and where we are. So the communication, you know, typically this is a very unique year under the circumstances, as you might imagine, but the communication starts very early. We start, the teachers start working We actually spend a fair amount of our time in our co-planning or our team meetings, especially in the upper grades, talking about how to unpack MCAS and the MCAS data. We communicate that data with families, actually. Those are topics that come up in our school council meetings. We communicate sort of the expectations for families. So had we had MCAS, there would have been a communication, this year, a communication would have gone out to families in February. No, I'm sorry, in mid-March. Like I was just getting ready to communicate to families about beyond, like with specific details about testing and the schedule, although some communication had gone out in February. Moving forward, I don't know what it's going to look like given our current situation. But as we get information from the state and from DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as that's communicated to us, then the district would then in turn communicate that to the families in Framingham. And if there's school specific information, I would be communicating that to you. So unfortunately, I'm looking at the time. We have we have another meeting in 3 minutes. We weren't really quite sure how long it would take. This was so new. I could see there was about, I don't know, there were a number of participants and it looked as though you stayed with us. So I'm very grateful for that. Again, please make sure that you do go to the FPS website to see a recording of this presentation. You can access some of the things that you missed, and keep an eye out for the Q&A that we will follow up on. I just want to assure you. Before we sign off, I want to thank our panelists. Thank you, Mr. Hanlon, Ms. Adelman, Ms. Levitan, Mr. Seller, and Ms. Glover for staying on. And I'm so sorry that we have to go, but it's time. So thank you so much. And please, everybody, stay safe. Bye-bye now.